just want to say thank you to everybody that's here today. I hope I get through this. I'm going to read something first, and then I'd like to say a few words and mention a few folks that are here from all over. If you haven't got a chance to look at some of the photo boards and things that are around, that represents a lot of people in this room, and a lot of years and a lot of fun. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Steve Jobs. As I reflect with gratitude on my life and park and rec career that started in 1980, I can honestly say I had fun. Steve Thompson and the WPRA family have been there for me from the start, and the NRPA 3 pillars have guided my path. I want to thank Steve. He truly has been there from the start. And many, many others, Sue McDade, Marge Klinzing, Craig Hepner, Ron Grawl, Ken Lapine, Roger Kiss, Tom Presney, and many, many more in WPRA's family have always been there for me, a phone call away, a cell phone call in the field, you name it. Be from the staff to the directors, they were always there supporting me. Here are some highlights of my career and memories. My first DNR job, George Myers here. George, my first job was at Peninsula State Park as a ranger law enforcement, where I had a hand in the design and development of the award-winning bicycle trail. I was the only female ranger there with 5 other guys. We also rode down in a Cadillac one day to take the game warden exam. I'll tell you about that in one of the books. And we all passed. Dane County Parks Manager internship provided me design and project development experience at Totem Creek Park and the equestrian trail. Today, Jane and Wes Licht are in the back. Jane was on the park commission, and Wes Licht is one of my favorite horse driving mentors there ever was. The Dairyland Driving Club uses that horse trail that I designed back in 1984. Ken is here. He was my mentor for many, many years. When we did the internship back then, you had to do 10 hours of volunteer project, and whatever that was, you could decide. Well, I picked making a horse trail, and they looked at me like, what? This is Wisconsin. We're not ahead of the times. And Ken and Jim Miller, the planner, worked with me. Wayne Pauley is here. Wayne was out there when we decided where we were going to put the trail, making sure I didn't put it in a wetland or wherever, and to help with the planning and design of the routes. And then I went to the park commission, and Jane was there to help when I needed to get $500 to have the Boy Scouts help me clear the trail. So my time and efforts with the Boy Scouts has been since back then. I then went on to be a ranger at Perot State Park and the Great River Trail, and I worked on those trail bridges and adding more miles down to Holman and on Alaska. I didn't stay long because the Kettle Moraine called to me, and that was the northern unit, which I prefer to the southern unit, but then I'm picky. Like they said, details. So I went to the northern unit, and I got to go to MATC and the law enforcement school. And there's a few folks here. Detective Patty Faust was in my class, Officer Sering, a few other officers in the room, Carnell and others, where I got to meet people in law enforcement and in the blue. I was in the class, the first class at MATC to receive my law enforcement certification, and I stayed at Kettle Moraine and met a wonderful woman that I lived with named Lena Ullman. And there's pictures of her. Lena was a baroness to the Indian School by Neilsville from 1925 to 39. She took care of 100 Native American children every year. She had the boys and other baroness had the girls. Lena also kept pictures, thousands and thousands of photos of each child and person that she helped and handled. And the date and the name were on those photos. Donna Schmitz, a friend of mine, that helped bring the cultural affairs team from Ho-Chunk to meet Lena, record all those photos and her history of the time at Neilsville. I wasn't just at Kettle Moraine to be a ranger, in other words. A lot of my jobs, I thought I was there for a job, but they always turned out to be more than just a job. And I think that's where God comes in and guiding me from the different places. So Lena, I lived with her. Her son was a ranger. And he said, why don't you live with my mom? I don't want to put her in a nursing home. So I went to live with that German lady who was 92 at the time, chopped her wood, gardened with her, learned how to make sauerkraut and canned vegetables and jams and everything else. And those of you that know, I'm famous for my pickles.
They're good.
Thanks to Lena. And Uncle John also, yes. From there, I went to Wisconsin Conservation Corps, WCC. I was a personnel staff specialist with WCC for many years. BJ Pankey's here, Tub Wells, hello, somewhere. Don Hamas is here, and others from WCC and YCC as well, was my early days as a youth. The staff specialist position, I got to work and hire 55 supervisors every quarter around the state. I got to go meet the Iron County Forestry and Parks Director, Lincoln County, Ole Hansen. So I got to go all over this lovely state, and I got to meet the Park and Rec and Forest Directors in Eau Claire and everywhere else. I hired supervisors that are now supervisors at Medford, Lincoln County, Wood County, several other areas. Our forester with the City of Middleton was a WCC crew leader. Many of the DNR staff were WCC crew leaders. And in that time, I got to meet people in all different areas of the state, work on all kinds of project development, from the trails and boardwalks and wildlife viewing platforms to many, many other projects. And there's some of the examples around. Middleton did have WCC crews. Susan West is here. They developed the boardwalk, one of the first projects in Middleton Hills, and Tiedemann Pond, and many of the projects and the restoration efforts were done with those crews. The value was $100,000 a year projects. And when I got those approved, the city didn't pay that $100,000, that was a grant. And so I've been working with those crews since 1994. You do the math. Devil's Lake State Park was after that. I had interviewed for the Dane County Parks job. Darren Marsh is here. Darren and I started back at Peninsula and Whitefish. Ken hired Darren and I was so upset. I thought that was surely where I was supposed to be. I said, that is where God wants me to be. Ken's like, I don't know, we just, okay. And within, I think it was a month, Devil's Lake was knocking on the door. You want to be the superintendent? And I got to meet George. And I went to Devil's Lake, and there's another common denominator in all my jobs, water. Whether it's FEMA and flooding, lakes, streams, ponds, and creeks. Everywhere I've worked, there's water. And so I learned about FEMA and floods and what to do with about, I don't remember how many million it was in FEMA funds, but quite a few, more than 5. When you go to Devil's Lake, you'll see the remnants of those projects, from the boardwalks to the retaining walls at the beach, the East Bluff Ski Trail, the East Bluff Wood Ski Trail with that slingshot at the bottom. I love to ski, whether it was alpine or Nordic. That was one of my favorite ones. Bike trails, mountain bike trails, hiking trails. The paved trails were repaved by a DOCC corrections crew in the 90s at Devil's Lake. I started working with Department of Corrections with those Oak Hill work crews back then. They followed me from Devil's Lake to Gov Nelson to Middleton, and they're still here to this day doing work for the city. And I think the savings there is well known. We did ADA upgrades to over 52 park buildings, paved paths and campgrounds, restored the East and Bluff West trails, designed and built ski and mountain bike trails that are still enjoyed today. Parfreeze Glen had a lovely boardwalk in it until the last flood. I was gone, it left. The ones that were there were from me. And I had many good times out there. The 10,000 trees were planted with Bill Carlson, Freddie Clark, and me and a WCC crew of 5. I can't take credit for all 10,000 myself. Yes, I did probably 8,000. I did have a little help that day, not much. The trees are alive and well. Bill reports in every now and again, and he's a neighbor of mine out in the town behind me. So again, relationships with foresters that I've known for a lifetime. Wherever they are, wherever I go, you keep those connections. There's a young man standing straight behind me down there in a green shirt, Michael. Michael Ederer was our first forestry intern here from 01 to 03. Michael worked with me on many of the restoration projects, clearing the west bluff of Pheasant Branch. I challenged him one day and I said, how many backpacks of herbicide do you think you can carry up and down this hill versus me? I said, don't make you look bad, because you know, at that point I'd already been in my car wreck and was on crutches several times and several surgeries later. I think I did 50 that day and he didn't win. Michael today is up in Prairie du Sac, has a thriving forestry consulting firm. He worked for many years with another forestry firm up there as well. He's got a family, he's doing great things, and there's several other of those students that were here that were CLC members of our work crew with Gar and Dino, and they worked the hardest. They always said, we don't want to be on CLC, we want to be on the parks crew. They didn't have to work as hard as a CLC crew, so they say. Gov Nelson State Park, I was the superintendent there over Keeganza and Glacial Drumlin. Little did I know, and it always is a lesson. Be careful what you say to people. You never know if they'll come back as your boss. I did. I was a ranger at Kettle Moraine and Ranger 2 in law enforcement. Years later, when I came back to Gov Nelson, I got to oversee Keeganza and Glacial Drumlin and folks at those areas. I also was part of the WCC crew that cleared the trail from Lake Mills to Cottage Grove. I tell jokes about back then with herbicide, we didn't know things, or not as well as we do today. But clearing that during the hot summer in 90-degree heat in July out by the muck farms was a hot job and very buggy. We cleared that. I tore 10 layers of shingles off the Lake Mills depot. I cut the floorboards out of the depot and we redid the floor and the walls and everything else. So when you go biking, you never know where Penny's been. Gov Nelson, we did ski trails, hiking trails, dog swim park, friends group, natural restoration of the effigy mounds, and the addition of over 50 acres of grassland habitat. Today you can see some of the remnants, that sign at the park with the meadowlark. That was one of the first ones, and they're like, what are you going to do? I'm going to have a big, big sign with a bird on top. We raised funds for that and got that sign with the Friends group. Much of the other activities there with the Friends group revolved around the restoration projects and prescribed burning. If ever you've not seen large tornadoes during prescribed burns, there is a book over there on the wall showing one with 3 tornadoes very tall. And I did that with 5 kids and myself. And I didn't have great fire trucks or fire departments to back me up. Although they would have if I'd had a problem. And in 30 years, I never had a problem. The City of Middleton Public Lands Rec and Forestry Department was established in May upon the arrival of myself. And I'd like to take a moment of silence for one of our people that can't be here today, Cal Hack. When I came, Dino, Dave, Doc, Cal, Daryl, Kurt, Larry Witt was the rec director at the time. Larry used to sit in a cubby on the other side of me at City Hall in the clerk's office, and that show on TV with Tim would talk over the fence to his friend, the neighbor. Larry and I did that often. Larry was my Tim. Larry, are you here? Somewhere? Larry Witt. I didn't have favorites in the Public Lands and Rec and Forestry Department. I tried not to. But if I did, Cal might have been the one. Together, the crew and the men that are sitting over here built everything that you saw in those photos, one by one, year by year, dollar by dollar. There's been 16 parks added since then. That's one a year. Harvey John and Lucille Taylor is our fellowship honoree. Lucille Taylor. Thanks to Lucille's generosity, the dedication and development of that park goes on. Dave Baltus is our fearless football guy. He's heralding in the football field with irrigation so that Middleton Cardinal football can play there. We have Firefighter Memorial Park and the Middleton Baseball Softball Commission, Mike Hins, and all the folks with the Baseball Commission. All of the things out there were from their hard work and effort and fundraising and the crew's work. It's the best in the whole county and the most of the state, if you ask me. You figure on a shoestring budget, it's amazing what we got done. The soccer stadium, the soccer fields, Rush, Wisconsin, Ben John, Chris Reichersdorfer, Sarah Reichersdorfer, Middleton United, Molly Duffy, and everybody with that crew. Soccer fields wouldn't be the same. Chuck Nahn, Orchid Heights just redeveloped and dredged a couple ponds and reused the spoils to make 6 soccer fields for Middleton U and the others to play on. Lakeview Park was always my favorite. The building I'm not so fond of. I once told Terrence Wall I really liked the one at Penny that he dedicated to his mother. I needed more funds and another grant for that, but I did have a file on it. The splash pad was done in 2008. This is the first of its kind in Wisconsin. It was a flow-through design. The water goes into the creek and into the lake. West Bend and many, many others in City of Madison and others followed suit. I love the design. I love the type of fixtures. I have a few planners here today. Kelly Hilliards from Middleton, wave. Sarah Gaskell, Sarah Lerner. These are my favorite girl power gals that are planners. They did a lot. Sarah trailed around with me for the years of 2003 to 2008, 2010. Many of the projects from the stadium, bleachers, and fencing, and other projects around the city. The big red shelter at Fireman's Park, playgrounds, park development. Sarah was there as a planner with one of the other firms. She's now a Madison planner for City of Madison Parks. And she's doing great things, and you notice there, splash pads, and many other things. Nice dog parks, lots of things, lots of good things. Sarah Gaskell's with Bike Federation, the connections to bike and pedestrian, safe access, safe trails. Cheryl Whitkey, are you here somewhere? CW? Right back there, CW. Head Safety Madison. CW is with me with WCC back in the 90s. A lot of projects, a lot of safety and good thinking for people. Just to be out there, whether you got a cane, a wheelchair, or you're fine and you're running great and doing Ironmans, or you're biking. They're for everybody, and I will fight till the day I don't breathe anymore to make sure they're for everybody. Dave Strassman is in the back. I can see his little brown hair back there. DRS Asphalt was the one that fought with me for 2 years with the DOT to use that porous asphalt on our paved pathways. That award-winning Pheasant Branch Creek Trail was David's porous asphalt. It's all not the same. The porous asphalt is not the same. There's specifications and there's differences. I wore out a few planners and engineers, and for sure Gary and Sean were sick of me. So I found a new guy named Pete Fortlich. I think he had to leave. You met him a minute ago. Burst Engineering, Michelle, are you here? Another one, Women Business Enterprise. Michelle was a graduate from UW-Madison. Engineering School. Chuck Nunn, UW Engineering School. My dad was an engineer from Platteville. He said, no, you girls are all going to UW-Madison. My sister Patty's here, she's from the vet school. I was in natural resources and forestry. My friend Sandy is over here, Sandy DeVault. McKay Nursery has worked with us many years. Trees, shrubs, plants, you name it. VFW Memorial Tribute, Jack Hall. I got to go dine with them a week ago. It was the first time I got to eat out in a year, and I could sit up long enough to do it. The VFW, Jack Hall, Jim Kurtz, Bob Knorr, and Doug Schwank, the guy in the Hawaiian shirt. Take him seriously, he's right. The years that Doug was in charge as mayor are some of the greatest times and projects that we did as far as the Pheasant Branch Loop Trail, the Creek Trail, and many other park projects like the splash pad. The community park, thanks to Kurt Bruning, one of my crewmen who retired. I don't see him here, but I think of him often. He was a fisher. I love fishing. I love angling. My pictures have some pictures, but there's many more. We couldn't get it together enough. But the photos, I love fishing and I love horses. Those loves have been there since I was 2 years old. I don't know why, they just are. Don Hamas is here, Yahara Fishing Club, Madison Fishing Expo, Trout Unlimited, and Dane County Conservation League. We're partner groups that I've worked with since the 90s. These groups have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in Middleton, whether that was on the northern pike spawning ponds. I won't tell you the nickname my crew has for those ponds. It's not proper. The Life Trail, you saw the picture of me and Tammy. Tammy went to UW-Madison too. You never know. The 80s was a wild time. That was the first 55-plus senior fitness trail in the state. Lana and Vern Lee and Lee Recreation have been with me for years. Bob and Ann from Gerber Leisure Products as well. I stick with the winners. Sorensen Bakken Baseball Concession and Restroom Facility. Daryl Hellenbrand single-handedly worked with the Baseball Commission and Home Talent to put that $100,000 building together, and it's there today for everybody to enjoy. The shade shelters and open air shelters, even though the guys have to put them up and take them down every year, we'd much rather have them nice Cleary or Wick steel buildings, but we do what we gotta do when we have limited funds. American Girl Playground was the largest playground in the city until Miss Taylor came along, and she knocked it out of the park with her playground up at Taylor Park. American Girl Playground was done with a donation from American Girl Foundation and the Madison Community Foundation, $150,000. Built the whole thing in a day, I kid you not. We had American Girl employees, they had a catered lunch. Leif Hubbard, my parks chairman, was crazy enough to volunteer that day. I put hats on them with little animals, and we had sticks in the ground with zebras and elephants and all different kinds of zoo animals. And you got a team of 10 people, and you got a map and instructions, and you were told, you're the slide guy, you're the roof guy, you're the mulch girl, you're the swing girl. So we put that playground up from 9 in the morning till 3 p.m. We had 400 people there doing all that work. It worked like a peach, and we didn't get much media. I don't know why. I've never seen anything like that on TV to my day still, but we got it done. And that's a really fun playground. Stream banks, 5,800 linear feet, over 1.5 miles in the creek corridor restored. Lakeview Park Stream Bank, Aaron Stevers here, Nicole Stokowski, Dan Salas, Cardinal JF New. Who are they? They're internationally known. They're an international company, national. They were big in Indiana. I used to be on the Great Lake Parks Training Institute board. That's a board of parks people from Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota. And I was on that board. I first met Cardinal down there. That was in 2003. We brought them up here. We've done wonderful projects and done a lot of stabilizing and a lot of good fish projects since. We've done webinars for the DNR on some of our projects and other folks on sustainability committees. The fishing pond, as I mentioned, was Kurt Brunig's idea. After we finished that grant project with Dane County, Kurt said, I will never do another project again like this. No more grants, how do you do it? And I said, they're all like that. Many, many, many. Hall Memorial Gazebo, Jack Hall I mentioned. That beautiful gazebo has had many, many weddings, gatherings, picnics at it. That was for Jack Hall's spouse. Jack had everything set up. He just asked that we maintain it. He picked out what he wanted, and my job was to make sure the DNR and everybody else stayed out of his way so we could get it built and used. Energy efficient lighting around the pond and the parking lot. Sean Stowski, our engineer and director of public works, Abby Atun Tucker, were the ones involved in that grant with Johnson Controls. Energy efficiency, solar, things that you're hearing about more and more. I was always saying, why can't they put solar on dairy barns? It could power up all of our dairy farms, horse farms. So, with Middleton, I'd first like to thank my crew. Could you guys all stand from Public Lands Rec and Forestry? Back up. My other staff, Rebecca, Greg, Jessica, Matt, and Mark. Okay, they had to go. Again, without these guys, dedication, they don't go home at 4 o'clock all the time. They put the extra minute in or hour until it's done. Dino couldn't be here. You know him from all the trails. I'm sure you've met him out there working hard at different times. These guys put up with a lot. They put up with the weather, lack of funds, and a lot of different things that they're working on. But every year, day in and day out, they've back 32 years. Again, people staying, not moving, and staying in one place today matters. And the knowledge that they have, and the other staff and the other departments, is irreplaceable. There are many other states nationally that are in the gold medal finals, and you get to see what you stack up against when you're there. And the committees and council, our CLC, Conservancy Lands Committee, I said I was blessed here with having 2 committees, Conservancy Lands and Parks, Rec and Forestry. I didn't know any other parks department that had that. But we did, we managed, and it's still to this day growing. And the conservancy areas have tripled, multiplied over the years. Howard Teal, I see you back there, don't shrink like a violet. Howard was on the Parks Commission as well as Conservancy Lands. And many others. Joanna Richards is here, Susan West, any other alders oh, Steve. Steve was here during the fun days of the Pheasant Branch Trail development. Again, grants and projects. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve through my work and an opportunity provided by God and the City of Middleton, which I'll always treasure. My mottos: deliver projects on time, under budget, as planned, and do what you can with what you got. Teddy Roosevelt said that. I kind of like the Rough Riders myself. And I'm not done yet. My family always says they'll put that on my tombstone. Words of wisdom for new park and rec professionals. Okay. It's important to accept that very few things worth doing will be easy. Wayne Dyer says, if you can change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Use all the gifts and talents you have been given to change your part of the world and leave it a better place because of you have lived and served through your chosen field. I'd like to make a few thanks again to folks out here. Ken Lapine has come a ways away. As I mentioned, Ken was one of my mentors. I was an intern with Dane County Parks, and he also sponsored WCC Cruise. Ken's a legacy in WPRA and in the state of Wisconsin. He also worked for DNR State Parks before he was there. So there is kind of a trend, you see. Some of these people in DNR might be county, they might be cities, and they might be national parks. Tom Gilbert is here, or I saw him before. Tom, National Parks. His sons are also Eagle Scouts that I had. We did a lot of Eagle Scout projects here that I'm proud of, and working with the Boy Scouts and their projects was an honor for me every year. Leaf and many others had family members that had to get their Eagle Scout, and my own nephews did in Illinois. I don't blame them that they're Illinois, but Patty's here. So the Scouts, there's a few folks that are here too. Carolyn Anderson. Carolyn was my first science teacher in grade school. Carolyn was the reason I was interested in why. I had curiosity and science. I went on to work at Cherokee Marsh as a middle schooler. The boardwalks that were out there for years. Russ Hefty's here somewhere? Cherokee Marsh, Russ? City of Madison, Russ is retired now. Thank you, Russ, for coming. Russ and I go way back to those days. Cy Wistrom was also Madison Parks. And Cy was back when with Cherokee Marsh and a ranger working for the city. I have Wayne Pauley here, Dane County Parks as well. I give Wayne the credit of teaching me about prescribed fire and controlled burns. Wayne, could you stand up a second? Please. Now imagine Wayne running with a drip torch at Token Creek in the wetlands. I'm 5'4" and my legs are 28 inches long. And it was me and Wayne, and he said, keep up. Jesus. I learned fast. Jim Symes. Jim was my high school chemistry physics teacher. Jim took trips to the Smoky Mountains for those in advanced science classes that were excelling. Most of the folks that were in that van that went to the Smoky Mountains to look at the wildflowers and hike 12 miles a day with him, and believe me, he's tall also, are all engineers, head of the BLM, the Western Region, Alaska BLM, many surveyors and engineers, and natural resource and forestry folks. Science teachers matter. This room is full of a lot of people. Okay, Leaf, I want to thank you for being the best parks chairman I had. Leaf was always there, never afraid to stand up when he needed to stand up for the people in Parks and Rec and Forestry. George, thank you for giving me my first jobs with DNR, and thank you for coming tonight. It's an honor to have you here. The horse people, John, Rod, those horse and buggies that you see in town that provide safe and enjoyable carriage rides. Remember, I'm 4th generation Century Farm member. I have a small farm out by Cross Plains now. That legacy for conservation is in some of the photos on what's left of our Century Farm in Adams. And where I am in Cross Plains, I have restored much areas as well and have a lot of wonderful wildlife there to enjoy. Mike Anderson is back here, Biologic. Mike Healy, Adaptive Restoration now. Those guys have done more for Middleton Hills and many of your conservancy areas than many of you know. They're amazing. William Lorman, Capital Off-Road Pathfinders and the mountain bike trail and the pump track, single-handedly made sure that that facility was put in and done right the first time. Alice Thompson, my favorite wetlands expert. Alice's laugh always makes my day. Alice has come a long way to be here today, so say hi if you know her and haven't met her, say hi anyway. There's a lot of people here, my friends from school, my family, Joanne, Mom. Her and Lucille are known as the Golden Girls on the national level. That's how notorious they are. And believe me, they are notorious at the National Parks and Rec conferences. My sister Patty, and my sister Vicki, who is my techno person today, and helping keep me on time. And Mike Davis, the last, I saved the best for last. He was the last one to hire me. It wasn't hard, I always liked to work. Ken knew that. I wouldn't stop. George knew that. I wouldn't stop. I get here and I still can't stop. So for now, I've had a little bit of a health fiasco that's kind of grounded me in a lot of ways. So, but Mike was one of the many interviewing me at the end there. And I think about that. As a female, when I graduated in 1984 from UW-Madison, there were 5 female park superintendents. I don't think there's very many to this day. It's a message. I don't think they did so bad hiring a young, female, disabled, hidden disabilities for all the years I've been with Middleton. You don't know who you're with or by, and you don't know if they're gay or straight. But what you do know is what you see that they do, and who they touch, and how they do those things. And it doesn't really matter. I don't think it matters in the big scheme of things, any of that stuff. What matters is love, kindness, humility, like Tim McGraw says. And Mike, thank you for having me.
We have a presentation from our State Representative, Diane Hesselbein. Diane, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I just want to say on a personal level, thank you for what you just said. It's so important to realize that you have touched every inch of Middleton, and I appreciate all that you've done for your years. And as a new elected legislator a few years ago, I had a lot of questions about the DNR. And I know I could call George Meyer and get his perspective, but I knew Penny would call me back right away and let me know her thoughts on the trails that were going on and the issues that were happening in the day. And I just appreciate you always letting me know how you would vote on things and what I should be doing. So I just want to say thank you on a personal level. But on behalf of the state of Wisconsin, whereas Penni Klein served as the Public Lands Director for the City of Middleton for 16 successful years, and whereas thanks to Penni's public service, the City of Middleton has seen many noteworthy accomplishments that speak to her excellent work, and whereas achievements under Penni's tenure include an award-winning trail system and park system, development of the splash pad and the American Girl Playground at Lakeview Community Park, the Harvey John and Lucille Taylor Memorial Park, award-winning conservancy areas, highly respected forestry and recreation programs, private fund development and grant efforts estimated at over $15 million, a gold medal award from the National Recreation and Park Association, awards of excellence from the Wisconsin Park and Recreation Association, the National Trail Award in 2004 and 2016. And whereas Penni's leadership has gained the City of Middleton an outstanding reputation for conservation, recreation, and natural beauty. And whereas Penni has made significant contributions to her community throughout her 28 years of service to the City of Middleton and the state of Wisconsin. Now therefore, the members of the Wisconsin Senate, on the motion of Senator John Erpenbach and myself, do commend and congratulate Penni Klein on her distinguished career and wish her the very best in the future. On behalf of the state of Wisconsin, thank you so much for your years of service.
I just want to say that there's a few of us that have to leave to go to meetings now, Penny. And folks can stay here as long as